Alright, so we're live. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Alright, so we're live. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Alright, so we're live. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Alright, so we're live. Hopefully you guys can hear me. So, oh my god. Had my stream open, so it's playing like crazy stuff. It's repeating back. Anyway, so today I really want to react to the eviction crisis in America because the moratorium has just ended. So that means that now thousands and thousands of people, I think millions, according to Cori Bush, thousands are going to be okay, that tweet is gone now, but that's what she said, that thousands of people are going to be kicked out of their homes today. So we need to act now. So I just want to react to what exactly is going on. So let's get to it. Alright, stream is working good. Alright.
Behind the laughs we share.
Smelly cat.
History of the sitcom, Sundays at 9.
Who's to blame here?
Well, you know, I think there's a couple of issues here. First
So we're acting
of all,
to AOC here.
You are absolutely correct in that the House and House leadership had the opportunity to vote to extend the moratorium.
They did.
And there were many, and there was frankly a handful of conservative Democrats in the House that threatened to get on planes rather than hold this vote. And we have to really just call a spade a spade. We cannot, in good faith, blame the Republican Party when House Democrats have a majority. Now, there is something to be said for the fact that this court order...
I mean, exactly. Like, you can't blame the the Republicans. I know the Republicans are scum, but, like, the Democrats, House Democrats literally went to vacation, like, to freaking Ibiza and Cancun, probably, while thousands of people are going to be homeless because the eviction moratorium is over now. This is crazy. At least, you know, real people who fight for the people, like AOC, Rashida Tlaib, you know, Cori Bush, and other people like her, like them, they are fighting for the people of America, which is great. But the rest of these Democrats, man, damn, terrible what they're doing here.
Came down on the White House a month ago, and the White House waited until the day before the House adjourned to release a statement asking on Congress to extend the moratorium. This came after weeks. I sit on the Financial Services Committee, which has jurisdiction over housing.
Yeah, they waited last minute.
The housing secretary there asking about the administration's stance. We asked the Biden administration about their stance, and they were not being really forthright about that advocacy and that request until the day before the House adjourned. And so the House was put into I believe, a needlessly difficult situation. And it's not just me saying that. Financial Services Chairwoman Maxine Waters has made that very clear as well. And so there's a couple of contributing factors here. We have governors who are also not getting this emergency rental assistance out in time, which is forcing this extension, what we would like an extension of the moratorium. The fact of the matter is that the problem is here. The House should reconvene and call this vote and extend the moratorium. There's about 11 million people that are behind on their rent at risk of eviction. That's
11 million
renters in the United States.
Congress is out of town for the next 7 weeks. Speaker Pelosi made it clear in a letter to Democrats last night she's not calling the House back. The Senate's here because they got the infrastructure bill. And you heard Manchin say that he thinks that the moratorium should be extended. So
I just want to say something. Sorry if I'm pausing a lot, but 7 weeks vacation? My God, that's a... While 11 million people could potentially lose their home. Like, America, man, y'all need to do better. Come on. But this is crazy, and I'm glad AOC and other people like her are calling out the Democratic Party for their BS, because you really can't put this one on the Republicans. Man, 7 weeks, 11 million people gonna go homeless. Like, I don't know. There's nothing I can really say to capture the horribleness. That's not a word, I know, but the terribleness. That's also not a word of the situation.
So that these tens of billions of dollars can get out the door. What's your response?
Well, listen, the House adjourned technically for 7 weeks, but I want to be very clear that due to the ongoing negotiations with the bipartisan infrastructure bill, we were given very specific instructions that we are set to adjourn for 7 weeks, but every member of the House of Representatives is currently on a 24-hour callback notice in anticipation of that bipartisan infrastructure bill.
Oh.
So we all have left town with plans to come back within 24 hours if necessary. And
Okay.
I believe that the expiration of the eviction moratorium and
Yeah, that's
having
necessary.
11 million Americans, 1 out of every 6 renters at risk of being kicked out of their homes, is worth coming back and triggering that 24-hour notice. We cannot leave town without doing our job.
Is that the video? Okay, so that is the video. So, right. This is crazy. Basically, like, I mean, this is like life and death for people. Like, if people go homeless, we don't know, like, so much suffering is gonna happen. People are gonna die, people are gonna starve, and it's going to be absolutely terrible. And we have to remember the Delta variant. Oops. The Delta variant is now rising in the United States. So this is a horrible time for people to go homeless, because now the Delta variant will spread like crazy because it's very infectious. And there are people in at-risk states where, you know, the cases are going up that will go homeless. So it's a terrible recipe for Delta to get a huge footing in America and just spread. And since I live in Canada, that concerns me personally as well, because we share a border. So if America starts suffering, it's going to be, at some point, we're going to suffer too. So yeah, I mean, they need to do something. They need to come back and they need to extend this at least for a few more months, 3-4 more months, until they can get this Delta variant, you know, they can deal with it. Because if they don't, it's probably going to go out of control and it's going to go crazy. It's going to absolutely go crazy. Let me see if anybody's in chat. Alright, nobody's in chat. But yeah, we need to do something about it. And if you're in America, call your representatives and bug the hell out of them and say, look, we need you to vote on extending this. To use everything in your power to do so. That's the only way this can work. So let's read this article. Hopefully I clicked the right button. Okay, I did click the right button. Sorry, I'm new to this streaming thing, so forgive any slowness on my part. Okay, so millions of households. Okay, now it's the first month in rent, and back rent is suddenly due for. So back rent too is suddenly due for millions of Americans who've been shielded from eviction during the crisis. Millions of households could face eviction over the next month. When lawmakers are on their annual August recess, and some have predicted a full-blown eviction crisis, just as a surge in COVID cases from the highly contagious Delta variant, like I said, may be promoting renewed calls for people to stay home and keep their distance. You can't stay home if you don't have a home. So, like, they're helpless if they don't have a home. They're going to spread it if they don't have a home. So they need to have a home. I don't understand how these people don't understand this, man. I'm a dummy, right? And I understand this. Like, these people are supposed to be the best of the best in politics, but clearly not. Oh my god. It's terrible. We only learned of this yesterday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told reporters. You only learned yesterday that the moratorium was ending today. That doesn't make any sense. Come on, Nancy, you gotta do better. Come on, you gotta BS a little better than that. Told reporters Friday evening after the House tried and failed to pass legislation that would extend the federal eviction moratorium. There was not enough time to socialize with it within our caucus, as well as to build a consensus necessary, she said, with a promise from a top lieutenant to revisit the issue ASAP, probably after the break. But that's 7 weeks. 7 weeks of people are gonna be homeless. 7 weeks the variant's gonna spread. 7 weeks of suffering. Nuh-uh, Nancy. It needs to happen now. Now. Y'all need to do it now. Otherwise, I mean, she can do it because she's rich. You know, she's shielded from all the suffering. So she doesn't, you know, she's like, we'll get to it. Nah. You gotta get to it now, though. Stupid. Pelosi was likely referring to the fact that Biden administration only formally asked Congress to pass an extension on Thursday, 2 days before the program expired. Why didn't they do this way before? Some White House officials made a late-stage push last week to re-examine the legal potential for President Joe Biden to extend the moratorium, but were told by the administration lawyers it wasn't possible, according to people familiar with the deliberations. You never know from the White House late ask or the Pelosi lame excuse that the Supreme Court was very clear 1 month ago. Either Congress could vote again to authorize the program, or evictions could go forward. So they had a month to do this. They can say, oh, well, it wasn't possible. Well, it was possible. So Congress could vote. And Biden could have, pressured Congress to vote. But they didn't do it. Okay, sorry, for a second I thought my mic was on mute. But they didn't do it. Why? It doesn't make any logical sense for why they wouldn't do it. Are they that scared of giving people, like, help? I don't understand. I really don't understand. Anyways. Not that a successful House vote would have accomplished anything. An eviction moratorium bill that can't pass the Democratic House would have been laughed out of the evenly divided Senate, where the rules give any one senator the right to slow anything down. There are plenty of Republicans who opposed the temporary hold on evictions when it was first enacted during the Trump administration in September of 2020. Republicans are evil, bro. They'd rather people be homeless and suffer and get the Delta and spread it. God damn. Today there's a gaping divide over whether the government can or should tell private landlords they can't kick tenants out. No, they should be they shouldn't be able to, man. But this is a story of Democrats' failure to manage time just as much about as Republican obstruction. Absolutely. They're both at fault here. The Republicans are doing what they always do, which is stand against anything that could help the middle class and poor people in general. Right? And the Democrats, though, there's nothing. You're supposed to be the party that helps people, but you're not. I absolutely believe in this moment. Yes, we are failing the American people. I can't pronounce this word that way. Massachusetts Democratic Representative Ayanna Pressley told CNN's Ryan Nobles on Saturday evening, "We absolutely should have received word from the White House much earlier than we did. There is still time, though, to right this wrong. I do believe that the White House and the CDC should act unilaterally, and if we are challenged by the courts, that will still buy these families time." Exactly. People need time. People need their homes. And it's a clear sign that extraordinary efforts by the government to help Americans through the pandemic are temporary, even if the virus is here to stay. You see what I'm saying? The virus doesn't care about politics. It's going to spread if we don't do the right thing. And we're not doing the right thing right now. Okay. Expanded unemployment benefits that the Democrats were able to sustain without Republican help will expire in September. A normal new direct payments for parents meant to pull kids out of poverty will end in 2022 until they can find a way to extend it. The problem is all these solutions are temporary. They need to be here for a long time. Right? Like, this is what happens when you don't have guaranteed shelter in a time of crisis like this. When you don't have jobs that pay, you know what I mean? Like, jobs that pay enough money so people can save money for times of crisis. You don't have jobs that do pay enough for those, at least for the average person I'm talking about. You know, most people in America live paycheck to paycheck. I think, 80%, 70% of people live paycheck to paycheck? Crazy. And the consequences of such terrible policies are being felt now during the time of COVID. Man, we really need to change society. That's what I'm saying. Like, food, water, shelter, healthcare, and education should be free, in my opinion, guaranteed. Otherwise, we cannot have a good society. Anyways, let's move on. What may be most frustrating for Democrats who helped Biden enact his American Rescue Plan to fight COVID this year is that they earmarked money to help renters, but most of it has not yet been spent. Oh, okay, that's not good. This is how people will have to live. Democrat Republican Cori Bush, she's awesome, of Missouri, slept on the steps of the U.S. Capitol in protest Friday night, trying to raise awareness of the many Americans who could be seen out of their houses. How are we on vacation when we have millions of people who could start to be evicted tonight, she said, of her colleagues, flabbergasted during an appearance on CNN Saturday, wearing the t-shirt she slept in. I am dirty, sticky, sweaty. I still have on what I had last night. This is how people will have to live if we don't do something. 7 million, 6 million, 11 million. However many it is, they deserve human dignity. And they deserve for people that represent them to show up, do the work, to make sure basic needs are met today, said Bush, who has been unhoused and evicted before she came to Congress. So she, better than anyone, understands what this is, really. Because I've never been close to being homeless. Right? So I can sympathize, but I can't empathize. She can. Like, this is one of the biggest crises, I think, of right now, of COVID times, of our times. So we need to fix this right now. Oh, so many people will suffer. Okay, let's read it. The exact number of people the lapse could affect is not entirely clear, since some states and cities like California, New York, and New Jersey have enacted their own temporary eviction bans the last bit longer. Pretty sure they're all blue states. Kind of seen the pattern here. More than 3.6 million renters worry that they would have to leave their homes due to eviction in the next 2 months, according to a bi-weekly survey conducted by the U.S. Census Bureau with data through July 5. And U.S. Census Bureau is a reliable source. I might be covering myself here, but let me see. Okay, nobody. Well, that's okay. We'll keep going. Okay. Far more, 7.4 million Americans reported being behind on their rent in the most recent survey according to census data. Okay. A review of census data by the left-leaning Center on Budget and Policy Priorities explained that explains that those having trouble paying are more likely to be people of color and people with children in the household, which is true because people of color tend to have, more systemic biases they have to go through. They're also tend to be poorer than white people, and people with children in the household because children are expensive. Let's be real, right? So they're going to have less money to spend, less savings in general. The moratorium protects tenants from eviction for non-payment, but does not erase back rent road. See, this is the problem, because what this does is that how do I say this? Okay, so what this does is that it delays you paying rent, which is great, but when it does get over, you have to pay back all the rent that you didn't pay, which is bad, because I'm pretty sure most people will not be able, if not everybody, will not be able to afford paying all of that. You understand what I'm saying? So it has to erase it. The government is there to support the people, especially during times of crisis. So the government's got to do that, and one of the best ways of doing that is erasing this back rent. Because if not, you're just delaying the crisis. You're not solving the crisis. You understand? Okay, let's keep going. The CDC declared the moratorium to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Okay. It has been expanded periodically and now stretched for nearly a year. But with COVID cases falling this spring, the CDC promised an extension to the end of July would be the final one. But now the Delta variant is radiating from the south to the rest of the country. Guess what? It's mostly in unvaccinated, vaccine-hesitant people. Idiots who have been fed propaganda by fools like Tucker Carlson and Tommy Lahren and other people on the right. This is why the Delta is going to be dangerous. So we need to make sure people stay at home. Sorry if I'm yelling. People need to stay home, and they need to stay safe and isolated. Okay. And this tool to help people... Last paragraph I'm reading right here, if you all lost where I was reading. And this tool to help people who can't work and shouldn't be congregating at homeless shelters is going away at exactly the same time cities and states are looking at new restrictions on congregating. Oh my god, this is going to create havoc. Why didn't the White House just extend the moratorium? That's my goddamn question. It couldn't really, because of a Supreme Court decision issued in late June. And at the time, with the clock running on this final extension of the executive authority, the court had sided with the renters and rejected an emergency challenge to the moratorium brought by a group of landlords, real estate companies, and real estate trade associations. Oh yeah, I wonder why they challenged that, eh? God, man. These landlords, pieces of shit, man. They want people to go homeless? What's wrong with them? Two conservative justices, Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Brett Kavanaugh, sided with the court liberals, even though landlords argued they were losing out more than $13 billion in unpaid rent per month. Kavanaugh said in a concurrent opinion that he did feel the CDC had overstepped its bounds with the moratorium, but since this was the final extension of the authority and it would be the last through July, he let it continue to allow for additional and more orderly distribution of the congressionally appropriated rental assistance funds. So he, being a piece of shit conservative, was against the moratorium in general, but he wants to let it continue. So at least he did that, but still fuck Brett Kavanaugh. And fuck... Well, I don't know what Justice John Roberts said, but probably some bullshit. I don't know. As CNN's Ariane DeVoe wrote at the time, Kavanaugh was very clear that if the government would extend the moratorium past July 31st, it would need specific congressional authorization. The authorization didn't come, and now the evictions will follow. Why was there an eviction moratorium? You're right. I mean, it's pretty simple to stop the spread of coronavirus by keeping people at home. But now that's expiring, Emily Benford, the chair of the American Bar Association COVID-19 Task Force Committee on Eviction and a research partner with the Eviction Lab at Princeton University, pretty good university, predicted the widespread evictions to begin very soon during an appearance on CNN on Saturday. The Eviction Lab tracks evictions filling in 6 states and 31 cities across the country and has documented more than 450,000 eviction filings since the pandemic began. Many of those could soon be acted on. That's almost 500,000 people. And trust me, that number is going to explode when the moratorium is ended, and it's going to explode from now on onwards if we don't bring back the moratorium. Extend it for a few more months, at least until Delta goes away. Then we can have a discussion about it. But right now, we need that moratorium, man. She implored landlords to seek help from the government rather than kick out tenants. Yes, so I think they shouldn't be allowed to kick out tenants, but they should get money so that they themselves can survive as well. Like, I'm not against, I don't want landlords not to have any money, but all I'm saying is the government needs to help everybody. The people who are staying, and landlords and the renters. Okay. The message to landlords right now is truly, the public health largely rests in your hands, Benford said. Because of the link of eviction and the spread of COVID-19, it is critical that you apply for rental assistance and wait to evict because of the long-term hardship and also the immediate threat to COVID-19 surge that this will create. Exactly, well said. Congress appropriated nearly $50 billion in assistance for both renters and landlords. But only a fraction of that has been spent as states, the federal government, and the Treasury Department set up a rental assistance programs for Scratch. The pace has picked up recently, and more than $1.5 billion was paid out in June. But there's still There's still $48.5 billion that's still... Okay, but we need more. That money needs to be spent right now. But talk about the bureaucratic red tape will sound like a foreign language to people now facing evictions. Families are panicked. Yeah, I would be panicking too. If I was in that position, I don't know what I'd be doing. I'd be like, what the hell? Ugh, God. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. People need to stay at home. They don't know where their children are going to sleep come Monday night. They don't know how they will cover the past due rent that they're not likely to pay off in their lifetime. Exactly. This is what I'm saying. Get rid of back rent. Get rid of that, because what you're doing there is that they're not going to be able to pay that off at all. They're not going to be able to pay off back rent. It's impossible. I'm sorry, but it's impossible. That's so much money. Like, months and months of rent you just gotta pay. That's not happening. Come on, people can barely pay rent, and then you expect them to pay multiple months of rent. Yeah. Oh, man. That's what I'm saying, though. Capitalism cannot handle crises. For all you little capitalists out there, I'm sorry, yo. Capitalism cannot handle crises. It's terrible at it. Okay, so they don't know how they'll cover past due rent that they're not likely to pay off in their lifetime. True. Many of them have applied for rental assistance, but with only $3 billion of the $46 billion paid out, they're on hold. So they're panicked, they're desperate, they're in dire straits. Exactly. Beautiful article by CNN. So let's see this article. So this article. Okay, before I move on to the next, I think I've given my thoughts pretty much throughout the article. So let's just read how other countries here dealt with their own eviction crises, because again, eviction has been a worldwide problem because of COVID. It's a worldwide problem. So let's deal with this. Okay, United Kingdom. In mid-June, Westminster extended a ban on evicting businesses behind on rent because of the coronavirus till March 2022. Wow. The moratorium in place since April 2020 has been due to expire at the end of the month in England, Wales, Scotland. But the coronavirus cases rose in June. Pressure grew on the British government to extend the protections given the continued economic pressures businesses were facing. But the government chose not to do it, so it expired on May 31 in England and June 30 in Wales. Scotland extended the ban in hard-hit areas until at least March. Northern Ireland has required landlords provide 12 weeks notice before evicting a tenant through September. The moratorium will be guaranteed scale back. There's specific examples. Tenants have to be notified of eviction in 6 months ahead. Then in June, July, that period is reduced to 4 months, and as of August, it will shorten to 2 months. So basically, now it means nothing. Several programs offering financial support to tenants have been extended until the end of September. Okay, good. But hopefully, it's enough money. Spain extended it. Oh, to more on evicting vulnerable people, dependents, victims of sexual assault of minors until the end of October at the earliest. That's very nice. I like that, Spain. The measure also provides frameworks for tenants economically hurt by the coronavirus to apply for rent reduction. Okay. Utility providers are barred from cutting off service to households covered by the moratorium and unable to bill. Good shit, Spain. Good shit. Hopefully the next paragraph doesn't say that you just decided to get rid of all that right now. But so far, I'm liking this, Spain. I'm liking this. Measure first March 2020 at the start of the pandemic and has been extended several times and was set to expire August 9th. Protections, however, have not stopped all people from losing their homes. About 11,000 people were evicted in the last 3 months of 2020, according to official statistics. The Guardian reported in June. Housing advocates have called for a revision of the criteria to broaden who's covered under the moratorium. Okay, so Spain has done a great job. They could do a little bit better, cover a bit more people, but I'm very glad of what they've been able to do so far. Very good, very good, very good. Australia, when the pandemic began, so Spain has done much better than the US. Britain has kind of screwed it up. Well, it's not surprised Boris Johnson is a screw up himself. Australia. When the pandemic began, Australia issued a 6-month moratorium on evictions, which it then extended until the end of March this year. During that period, tenants... Let me make sure that you guys can actually see the screen. Yeah, you all can. Okay. 6 months moratorium on evictions, which it then extended until the end of March of this year. During that period, tenants financially hit by the coronavirus and unable to pay rent were protected from losing their homes. Okay. When the moratorium expired, the government said it would implement a 6-month transition period. What is a transition period? What does that mean? To help those unable to pay rent. Okay. But with outbreaks fueled by the Delta variant putting cities and communities back on a lockdown, housing advocates have called for additional protections. Yeah. What we're particularly worried about is the rate of debt people are accruing. Leo Patron Ross, CEO of Tenants Union of the New South Wales, told Australia SBS News, "A housing market is a competitive sport, so if you've got any kind of black mark, any kind of thing that puts you at the bottom of the list, it makes finding a new home really, really difficult." Yeah. So it looks like Spain did way better, but it looks like other countries like UK and Australia haven't done that great. So I think I've pretty much said everything I can say. My final thoughts are that we need to do something about this. We really do. Because call your representatives, bug them, tell them, please, we need help. You know, I'm glad Cori Bush, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, all those, the squad is pulling up and helping and trying to push for the people. I'm glad they're doing that. But they themselves can't do it. The Democrats need to come back past this to extend the moratorium. Right now. We need to do it right freaking now. Otherwise, people are going to suffer terribly. It's going to start because it's ended today. So, man, people could be getting kicked out of their homes right now. And, man, there's going to be a lot of death and suffering in America. And I don't get it. I just don't get why they wouldn't do it. Like, the system is so failed. There needs to be a new system. There needs to be a new system. And I don't think capitalism is it anymore. Capitalism isn't it anymore. It had its time, but now we need to move on to something else. Something better. Something more left. Man, this sucks. This really does suck. Anyways, let me see if anyone showed up on chat. Let me see if anyone showed up on my stream. One viewer. Hey! One viewer. Hello. Anyways. Wait, did I close it? Oh shit. Okay. I didn't close it. Good, good. I thought I closed the thing. Never mind. Yeah. This is terrible, and they need to do something about it right freaking now. Or this isn't working. You know what I'm saying? This isn't working. Anyways, I don't think I can stream any longer with just talking to myself. I just wanted to cover this one topic, and I did cover it, and I'm glad I did. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream, and if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe and hit the bell button so that you can know when I'm going to stream and when I'm going to drop a video. It'll really help. Alright, see you all on the next stream, or the next video if you're on YouTube.